Welcome to our Chat and Chew. We are keeping our summer Chat and Chews alive here at Poplar. So we are Poplar Pulmonary Wellness, supporting those living with chronic lung conditions, helping them to live your best lung life. And with our chat and choose, we like to create a safe space for discussion. So we realize that everybody joins this conversation willingly with open hearts and open minds, and everyone is free to share their thoughts, values, and opinions, and to ask questions without fear of judgment. So we thank everybody here for being able to provide this space for all of us here today. And as well, information that we share here is for educational purposes. It does not substitute or replace professional medical advice from your healthcare provider. And we would like to take this moment to do a land acknowledgement. We are on the lands, we live, work, and play on the unceded ancestral territories of the Coast Salish people, including the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And if you wanted to pop the territories on which you live, work, and play, please go ahead and do so in the chat. Feel free to do that. We'd like to see where everyone's joining us from. And if you're looking for more, we have other opportunities to learn, move, and connect with us here at Poplar. So we are bringing back our Monica's for Health and Happiness sessions. They'll be running for another sort of winter season starting in the fall here. From October all the way to June 2026. We have a wait list going and we are reaching out to people. So please feel free to reach out to us from our website at poplarpulmonary.com. And we also have the Better Breathers Club of BC starting up again in September. That runs on the second Wednesday of the month. So it's a monthly meeting at 2 p.m. Pacific. And you can find more details about that in the Poplar community and on our events page of our website.
And we want to thank BC Lung for funding both of those programs. So thank you so much, BC Lung.
Yes, three cheers for BC Lung. They are an amazing organization and they provide a lot of the services that you receive from us here. Awesome. So without further ado, let's chat and chew. So we like to chat and chew. We've got our, cup of tea or water handy, maybe a little fruit snack or something healthy we like to encourage while we have these casual conversations. So we do encourage all of your questions and comments to keep this conversation flowing with us. And today we're talking about summer travel. It's still August and people are traveling, so we hope to provide some tips for you here that will last you throughout the year so you can have some safe and joyful travel with enough energy and oxygen to last you through those adventures. So what we can expect to talk about today, we're going to talk about packing and planning. We've got some tips for energy conservation, always handy reminders there. Traveling with oxygen, which comes with a certain amount of overhead, whether you're traveling by car or airplane. And we've got time for questions and answers as well as conversation. So let's get this conversation started. So summer travel. So if you wanted to raise your hand, or just say, hey, if you are planning a summer trip or considering a trip that's coming up, and I can't see anyone's hands right now. Yeah, is anyone planning a
So
trip
what
in
do
the
you
near
consider
future?
it, like a road trip?
Could be
Does
a
that,
road trip.
yeah,
Yep, exactly. That kind of thing.
okay.
Have you got one coming up?
Well, we're just going to the island. I don't know if that
Oh yeah.
qualifies.
Sure.
Yeah, sure it does.
Yeah, and traveling with ferries too, that can add a complication and unknown time periods in there. Yeah, awesome. And I think we already know people here are using oxygen mostly with activity. Is that right?
Yeah,
Or
I need it on a
nebulizing.
plane as well.
Okay. Oh, good.
Mhm.
Aha. We're gonna get to that.
So
Perfect. So you've
I
probably
try
had
to
some.
avoid planes these days.
Yeah.
Fair.
Just that's one reason, and then there's the border issue. That's another issue.
all of these
Yeah.
unexpected things. I'm actually going to be traveling next week and have flights booked with Air Canada,
Oh
who's
dear.
on
A
strike
strike
right
is
now,
good.
and it's so unexpected. So we all have, we look forward to our trips. Maybe we do some planning, and the unexpected happens, and we got to go with the flow. So
Yep.
hopefully we'll we'll offer some tips to have you prepared.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So let's start with the first part of the trip here, smart packing and planning. And we know that packing and planning needs to happen, but often it gets left to the last minute.
Mm.
And so we just want to have this gentle reminder to plan ahead. Plan ahead, plan ahead, plan ahead. So, what do we say? Proper prior planning can really help things go more smoothly. And we do suggest using a packing checklist, especially for your oxygen and medication. So, if we are living with the chronic lung condition, there is a little bit of extra things that need some time and attention at the beginning so that it can go smoothly throughout the trip. So, don't forget about your medications, the prescriptions. Check the expiry dates. It's a good opportunity. Check your expiry dates on medications. And don't forget to take those medications with you that you might only need some of the time. Because chances are that some of the time situation could happen on the road.
And those would
um,
be things like flare-up action plan, medications, and things like that. Those
Yeah, I
just
was
in
gonna
case one.
say, yeah, so as an asthmatic, I always travel with my emergency inhaler in my purse. But I'm gonna be double and triple checking that I have that before I leave and go anywhere. The other thing is to check, if you are taking a flight or having things in a trunk, maybe in a car that you can't access on a ferry or something, that you keep the important things with you in that, carry-on or bag that you're going to be bringing with you so that you've got it when you need it. It's different than being at home. You can't just, walk into the other room and grab it. And all the oxygen gear, including strings and things. So all of the power cords, extra humidifier bottles, the oxygen cannulas, the batteries. There can be a lot of things. So plan to bring them all and then figure out where you're going to keep them and think about when you might need them to make sure which bags you're going to have handy at those times. Energy. Let's talk about energy. So, we know that living with a chronic lung condition means that you have to carefully spend your energy, right? So, breathing is part of it, maybe coughing and mucus clearance is part of it. And those things can be draining, right? We feel short of breath, and that might happen earlier than it does with other people. So, if you're traveling with other people who perhaps have more energy than you usually might, be aware of that and voice your concerns and let them know that you're going to need more time to get places, to walk around. You might need some opportunities to sit and rest. And so when you're planning the trip, all those things you want to do in a day or in this place that you're going, some gorgeous place, you don't want to be exhausted and short of breath for that. So plan to have some rests, maybe that's, hey, let's just go sit on a bench and mellow out for a bit. If there are viewpoints you wanted to stop at or something like that, maybe it means arriving early at airports or for events so that you can rest before the thing begins. So build in that buffer time. Thinking ahead on this is really important. And I know even just as I aging, I need to do this. When I was young, I could do anything. I could do anything in a day. I feel like, I'll climb Mount Everest and then I'll go do something else, right? Planning every minute. And, I would work right up until I leave. And then as soon as I get back, I'm working again. Now I know I need these buffer times, and it makes such a difference. It's so much more enjoyable if I feel like I have time to breathe between the events. Also, don't feel you have to schedule something every day or schedule something just because you're going to be somewhere different. So it's okay to sleep in on vacation. It's okay to go to bed early on vacation. And I think we do forget this sometimes. So maybe I'm talking to myself as a reminder here mostly, but it's important. So these are, it's information you've probably thought of and realized, but sometimes it's nice to hear somebody say, "Hey, you need to do this." Might sound like a little thing, but doing it can make a big difference.
Uh, Before we just want to add extra tip in terms of the buffer time, you want to put that buffer time. So Tina talked about during the vacation having that buffer time, but also a little buffer time before you leave on your trip for the same reasons Tina was saying. Sometimes we're rushed, sometimes we're working or you're having to take care of others. And we totally deplete our energy bank before we've even left on the trip. And that travel day, the day that you're traveling, can take a lot of energy, a lot of
Yes.
pre-planning. So you don't want to totally deplete yourself because when you do, that stress, that's sometimes what throws people into flare-ups or why some people feel like they get sick on their trips or they have flare-ups on their trip. Um, it's because we didn't conserve enough of our energy prior to the trip. Um, and so that's one thing to keep in mind too.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I'll mention I'll gonna feed off of you for a second here, Jenna, too, is that travel is stressful. Even if you love it, there's a certain amount of stress, sort of that mental overhead of being somewhere new, figuring things out, usually longer days, right? So everything's new. It can be stressful. And now I forget where I was going with that. Oh, yeah, that's right. So it's more demanding on the body, and our immune systems get affected with stress. So if you tend to be susceptible to things, as we all are, you might find that you're a little more sensitive to things on the trip. So like being around other people, being able to fight off infections or anything that you're exposed to as well. So it's tasking on the immune system. And so one thing I've started doing is when I travel, I'll travel with extra vitamins. I start taking extra vitamins if I know I have a trip coming up and during the trip, especially vitamin C, just to help me, keep healthy during the trip because I really don't want to be sick during that usually short time period, right? So yeah, give your immune system a boost too. And resting is what the immune system needs as well. So resting, it does help. Yeah. So energy conservation tips. So we're going to use this CAR acronym here, appropriate for road trips. So CAR standing for consolidate tasks, alternate rests and activity, and restore. So hydrate and breathe. And when we usually talk about energy conservation, you may have heard other acronyms. So we like to use the 4 Ps. So planning, pacing, prioritizing, and positioning. And those are excellent tools as well. If you're familiar with that and want to use those, go for it. But with the CAR acronym here, so consolidate tasks and walking. So try to minimize sort of that wasted effort or wasted times, right? Figure out what you need to get done first and then do it so that you can be a little more efficient with things. So um, if you're going here and there for things and whatnot, can we just make it a little more simple? Maybe we're going to go to places that are closer, maybe not walking so far between things. Maybe we're going to drive instead of, you know, walking or taking transit. Maybe renting a car is a better way to go. Um, so just making things a little more smooth, a little more streamlined with the goal of conserving energy and time. So if you're conserving time, you're also conserving a bit of energy, as long as you're not filling that time with many more things. Um, and alternate rest and activity. So if you have 3 things or 4 things that you plan to do that day, Don't bunch them all up and go crazy in the morning, and then you'll just be exhausted all afternoon and evening. It's nice if you can spread those four things out, maybe over a couple of days, even if you do have four things going on, so that you can have some rest and have some activity so that you're well rested before you go and do the things. You'll enjoy it so much more if you're rested first. And then hydrate. I love how hydrate found its way here. So we do tend to get dehydrated, especially if you're flying. Being on a plane can be very dehydrating. But also because when we're moving around, we don't have our glass of water handy, right? You have to go out of the way to get it, or you have to carry it around, and it's better to carry it around than not to have it. So hydrate whenever you can. Bring some water with you. It doesn't have to be one of those giant water bottles, although I do happen to think those are very cool. But something. Bring some water with you. You can reduce the amount of caffeine and alcohol that you consume can help with hydration as well. And then breathe. Sometimes it's the most simple thing that we need to be reminded of. And here at Poplar, we really do like to encourage some conscious breathing, some mindful breathing. And one of the breathing techniques that we like to use is pursed lip breathing. So you might have heard of this before. It's fairly common because it tends to work for a lot of people. So pursed lip breathing. And it's called pursed lips because if you think of a purse with a drawstring, and we do that with our mouth, kind of pull the edges together and just make a nice little hole to exhale out of. And we inhale through our nose and exhale through pursed lips. And when we do this pursed lip breathing, the goal is to extend the exhale, slow down the breathing pattern a little bit, give us something to focus on. We want to get in a good position for pursed lip breathing. So you want to sit up nice and tall or stand nice and tall. You want to be relaxed. So maybe you're going to lean against something, or you're just going to hinge forward at the hips and leave a lot of room for the belly to move. So we have nice belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing going on. Let the shoulders fall away from the ears. And then start the pursed lip breathing. And you want to do this for about 5 breaths, even can be very helpful. So just find your own pace, breathing in through the nose to get the humidification, the moisturizing, and the filtering. And then exhaling through pursed lips, which helps to extend the exhale and it helps us to get more air out because that little bit of pressure created with the little hole helps to keep open those little floppy airways like we see in COPD and many other chronic lung conditions. So it's just an easy exhalation. You're not forcing it, just a little hole like you're blowing out a candle. And so it's pretty amazing what, about 5 breaths like that can do for you in a moment. When you're feeling short of breath, we encourage you to practice this even when you're not feeling short of breath so that you can really have that ingrained in you, get that muscle memory going, and get that good effective breathing going so that when you need it, it's there for you. Did we have any questions about the pursed lip breathing?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. Any
It's one
questions
of
about
the,
anything so far? Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's one of the breathing techniques we get to practice in the harmonicas program.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, the playing the harmonica mimics pursed lip breathing because of the way you have to play it. Yeah, it's so cool. Okay, Jenna, I'm handing over to you.
Sure. All right. So we're going to move on to the oxygen piece of our travel. And we split this part of the talk up. So we're going to talk about road trips with oxygen first, and then we'll talk about flying. Um, so has anyone had to travel already? I know some of you have trips coming up. with your oxygen. Any experiences with this? Any tips or tricks that have worked for you?
Nothing
No,
yet. Yeah.
nothing yet. Okay.
Okay. They're all ears.
So, yeah. So, like Tina mentioned, planning ahead, planning ahead, planning ahead. That's going to be key to make sure that you especially have enough oxygen equipment with you on your trip. You're going to be working with your home oxygen supplier and perhaps RT with that company to make sure that you have what you need. If you're traveling um, with oxygen tanks, we have a couple tips and tricks listed here. So really remembering to try and keep your tanks cool. So try not to leave them in your car, making sure that they're secure. So remembering that oxygen tanks is a pressurized system. So we want to make sure that they're not kind of rolling around, but they're really secure in your vehicle, either in a box or belted in some way. Some of you may be traveling with your portable oxygen concentrators, which is great. And we had the tip already to make sure you have enough battery packs with you or adapters that can charge your battery from your car, for example. And then all your accessory oxygen equipment. So just like how we might do a car check to check that we have, perhaps an emergency car kit and things like that, we want to also make sure we have our emergency oxygen pack with extra cannulas, charged batteries, and things like that. And then in the planning process, we want to think about what's your route. So we've already talked about how travel can be unexpected, but you're most likely going to plan out a specific route. And we were sharing earlier, one of our participants is taking a travel trip using the ferry, for example. So you might have a route that you might take to the ferry that's pretty direct and things like that, knowing how long your oxygen is going to last if you need that at rest as well. But then we always need to keep in the back of our mind, the unexpected things. And so we do need to make sure we have our emergency oxygen equipment if, for example, you get stuck in traffic or things take longer or ferry delays or those types of things. So we always want those spare tires, spare parts, that mentality running in the background. I meant to look this up and I didn't, but I do know with BC Ferries that you used to be able to sort of get a priority boarding, or you can request accessible boarding. And maybe Tina, you know too, where perhaps they position your car really close to the elevator and things like that. And these are all the little ways that we can kind of think ahead and plan ahead to conserve energy or conserve our oxygen. Do you know, Tina, offhand?
I think they used to, and then one of our participants was saying they don't think they do the priority for the oxygen anymore. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it stopped, but I am not 100%, but I believe that's the last word on the street. Yeah.
All right. When we
They
post this
do.
video, we will, any websites that might have the information you need in regards to traveling by ferry, traveling by plane, we'll post those links with our YouTube video.
Yeah, and BC Ferries does have medical travel allowances. Um, but I don't believe regular use of oxygen is one of them. But
Yeah. And I
we will
see
confirm.
now all of their pages are under construction or
Yeah.
Oh,
cannot be found. So they might, I
Summer
think that
construction
falls.
project.
Yeah, that's right. All right.
All right.
Oh, yeah, there have been quite recent changes. There's says October 15, 2025. So we'll have a look through that and post that with the video. So do go to the BC Ferry site too, if you need to look into that. They call it assured boarding. Assured boarding. All right, let's move on to flying with oxygen, which requires probably even a little more pre-planning than perhaps a road trip. Oh, sorry, one thing I forgot to mention about the road trip. This was a tip from one of our participants in a previous talk where she shared that you can talk to your oxygen supplier to know where their oxygen depots are. So she had quite a long road trip and she needed to know where she could refuel or get more tanks. So get rid of her empty tanks and pick up some new ones. And so work with your supplier if you have a trip like that to know where the depots are where you can do those exchanges on your route. All right, so let's move on to flying with oxygen. And we have some cues here about who to talk to really as you plan out a flying trip. So the first thing to keep in mind is that even if you are not using oxygen at rest or on exertion, sometimes because of the change in altitude and as we get higher up in the air, we are breathing in less oxygen concentrations from the air. And so living with a chronic lung condition, we may be susceptible to that change. Normal lungs, we usually do just fine. Our bodies can compensate and we don't feel much change with our breath. But when you're living with a chronic lung condition, we feel those changes and you can feel them pretty easily depending on the severity in your lungs. So the first thing to do is to talk to your doctor and have that conversation. Are you safe to fly? And they do have hypoxic altitude tests that they could do at your local pulmonary function testing lab, where they can have you breathe in a concentration of air that actually has less oxygen in it. And they measure your oxygen readings with a pulse oximeter, and they might do readings from an arterial blood gas, which is blood work done from your wrist, which shows us more accurately the levels of oxygen and carbon dioxide in our lungs. And so they can determine prior to whether you might require oxygen while you're flying. And then once you know that, then you can really prepare. So the next step is to figure out your itinerary. So which airline will you be flying with? And each airline has their own forms to be filled out. So we really recommend that know which tickets you're looking into, know which airline it is, go to their website, and you're going to be looking up accessible travel. Accessible travel. And on there, you'll see forms. So you'll see what they require, for example, for you to bring your own portable oxygen concentrator on flights. They don't usually let you bring oxygen tanks, and very rarely will they let you use their oxygen, maybe only in an emergency situation, if that, because we've heard where that has also been an issue. So look to see what forms you need to fill out. When you are traveling, and I should say these airlines, so I'm just taking a glance at Air Canada's accessible travel as an example. They do have a number you can call, and they suggest a person from the airline you can work with to figure all this out. So you're certainly not alone. There will be forms that need to be signed by your physician. And so they might have their particular form, or it might be okay just to walk around with a prescription. So, for example, your home oxygen is a controlled drug and does require a prescription. So it might be helpful that on your next prescription, you take a copy of that and just put that in your travel pack and have that for you to carry around as a just in case. But even if you have that prescription, some airlines still won't let you bring your portable oxygen concentrator unless they have their form signed. So keep that in mind. The
And especially if you're
airlines,
crossing an international border, even if it's by car, a prescription is a good idea.
right? Yeah. That's a good call. Thanks, Tina.
Yeah.
So with your portable oxygen concentrator, this is the third hoop maybe is that airlines have an approved list of concentrators. So just by Googling accessible travel with Air Canada as my example, I can scroll down on that website and see which portable oxygen concentrators are approved. And so you want to make sure that yours is on their approved list or that you're talking to their accessible airline attendant to sort out the portable concentrator that you have. Because the last thing you want to do is show up with your equipment and then they don't let you on the flight because it doesn't go through all the hoops. And again, this information seems to be easily accessible through their websites. On the day of travel, we've already talked about energy conservation, pacing, planning out leaving enough time to travel to the airport, for example. We do know that we are stubborn, aren't we? And sometimes we have a mental hurdle to overcome. But one of the tips in researching this talk that really stood out to me was that people really recommend not holding yourself back from accessing wheelchair assist. So remember, every airport is different. You don't always know where your gate is. You don't always know how long it will take to walk there. If you're traveling with oxygen, you do have to accommodate that time of traveling with the oxygen on exertion and making sure that you have enough or that your portable oxygen concentrators have enough battery life. So if asking for that accessible wheelchair assistance is an option to you, take it, look into it, just even as a backup plan. It will help you to bypass perhaps certain things like the security line. It make things shorter for you. In seated, you can conserve your energy. And that was a tip that I thought was really good and could be really helpful.
Yeah, and you know what? Airports are really big these days with many terminals and those little kind of golf cart buggies they've got to get people from A to B can be super helpful. Yeah.
And you know what? You just sit back and you just wave to people as you travel effortlessly through the airport.
Do your best queen impression. Yeah, king or queen.
So once you get to the gate, some tips that might help is to sit close to the attendant desk, just so you can hear the announcements and let the attendants know that you are traveling with oxygen. Utilize the pre-boarding, so don't feel you have to hold back or stay in line. Use the pre-boarding. It is available to you when they call that out. And then last but not least, and this is on several of the airline websites, is they do require you to bring 150% battery charge. So 150% of your flight time in terms of battery charge. So what that means is they don't generally let you plug in your portable oxygen concentrator into their outlets. They want you to use your batteries, in which case you have to make sure your battery will sustain you, plus delays and those unexpected things we've been talking about. So they're asking for 150% of your flight time in pre-charged batteries. And so you might have to work with your oxygen supplier to make sure that you have enough batteries that you might need. Has anyone
Yeah,
had
some
to
people, oh yeah, I was gonna say some people have to buy the extra battery. Yeah, or pay to rent one if they do that. Yeah. The other thing is, again, if you're traveling internationally, don't forget to bring those plug adapters or different converters for charging those batteries when you get to where you're going.
Excellent tip. Has anyone had to fly with their oxygen and have anything they think they would add here?
Oops. Oh, sorry.
It's Gail, and I would add that because I have traveled with oxygen, is that you have to book really early, well ahead, because they only take so many people with oxygen.
Oh,
Good to know.
wow. Thanks, Gail.
Mhm.
Okay.
I don't
Interesting.
know
I
if
wonder
that's
what the
all
limit is.
airlines, but
Okay.
I know
Okay,
some
so
of them
book,
they'll only take so many people.
Yeah. I wonder, do
right.
you know what the limit is usually,
I
or
don't.
did they say? Yeah. Hmm. I bet it's dependent on the number of flight attendants around too,
Hmm.
or how many they could
Hmm.
support in an emergency.
I think that's the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, great one. Thank you, Gail.
Great tip. Thank you so much.
You're
All
welcome.
right. I put here, so the last tip we were saying, talk to your doctor, talk to the airline, talk to the airport attendant. So talk to yourself during the flight. Sometimes it's not unusual for us to get pretty anxious before we fly for lots of different reasons. Maybe it's flying itself. Maybe it's past experiences. We talk about this a lot in our pulmonary rehab programs, past experiences that stick with us, that we've created that pathway in our brain. And so we just need another similar experience to set off our sympathetic nervous system, and set us off into fight or flight responses. So use the passive breathing, which Tina graciously showed us earlier. Really try and stay calm. If you only require oxygen on exertion, or you're mostly fine at rest, maybe you don't need your oxygen on. Maybe there's an opportunity to conserve a little bit um, while you're on the ground. So before you've taken off, while you're on the ground. But maybe you have a conversation with your doctor and it might be determined that it could be good to pre-oxygenate a little bit before you get up into the air. So really just kind of use a lot of your calming strategies. Your pulse oximeter, the little device you put on your finger to measure your heart rate and blood oxygen. Many of you on oxygen have this device, and you're able to use those numbers to kind of check in and see how you are. It's a balance. We don't want to be like just sitting there looking at numbers and not really enjoying our flight. But if you're feeling changes in your breathlessness and you want to check in and kind of see where your blood oxygen is at, certainly use that device to check in, and then you can titrate your oxygen based on the prescription your physician or respiratory therapist has given you. Any questions with that piece? Okay, I just see our time. Wow, we're chatting and chewing, and time is flying. So we've just put some quick um, resource prompts here, I would say. So each health authority in BC, if you go to their kind of search page, they may have some oxygen forms you can look at, whether that's the home oxygen program or getting the hypoxic breathing tests done. Have these conversations with your respiratory therapists and your physicians as well. Do reach out to your oxygen vendors. They are part of your team. They're going to be so helpful. There are respiratory therapists that work on these teams as well. So reach out to them, let them know of your travel really early so they can help you prepare the oxygen that you might need really early. And again, look at those airline oxygen policies. They're quite in depth. They do follow their protocols, so you don't want to be stuck. You want to really do your due diligence to make sure you're prepared for airline travel.
Quick
All right, so we go
review.
on these vacations to release, relax, have fun, see our friends, see our families. So that is the overarching goal. So don't lose sight of all that, but just know that a little prep can take you a long way. So plan ahead. Use the car method to conserve your energy. Stay cool, stay safe. We did not have time to talk about it in this talk, but I know we are all experiencing the effects of forest fire smoke and poor air quality. do check out. There's a lot of resources pages out there, including in the Poplar community, to help guide you through how to mitigate those risks, even while you're traveling. Pack light but smart, and of course, ask for help and support. And we are here for you at Poplar. So if you're looking for more, if you feel like, you know what, I need a little more support with my travel, or one-to-one with a respiratory therapist, certified respiratory educator, we do offer appointments in our Poplar clinic, including a free 15-minute welcome session. We can help with breathing symptom management, navigating the healthcare system, so working alongside your healthcare team. We can support you through traveling with oxygen, and work with you on your respiratory care plan. So check us out through our website. And we thank you all so much for joining in today. And perhaps we usually like to end our chat and chew sessions by quickly going around the Zoom room and just asking you all if there was a tip or trick that stuck with you, something that you might take away from the talk today.
Well, I just appreciated all the tips.
Okay.
I thought they were very helpful.
Awesome. Thank you, Gail. And we appreciated your tips too. And welcome, Bev. You popped in.
Hi, Ben.
I'm
Good
Hi,
to
Ben.
see
late,
you.
but I got the last little bit.
That's okay. That's great. Glad you could join us. You missed our energy conservation part.
Yeah.
We got you. Don't
We-
worry. We can follow
we-
up, or
we
you can
recorded
watch
it.
the recording.
Recording.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where do you
Yeah.
work out of? Are you in Vancouver or?
Yeah, we're both based in Vancouver area, so not too far.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But Poplar Pulmonary Wellness is a is a virtual service. So we do most of our programming online via Zoom.
Yeah.
As a way to really improve accessibility for people to connect with respiratory.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, and especially people who are living in remote areas, or, we talk about all of these extra efforts it takes to travel with oxygen, and sometimes just going out in a regular day is fitting all of that criteria. So if you can access us from wherever you are online. So we'll say a quick farewell to our folks who are joining us from watching the video here, but thank you so much for joining us for this summer chat and chew. We look forward to more conversations as we begin the BC Lung Better Breathers of BC talks once a month on the second Wednesday of the month at 2 o'clock. Did I get that right? Thank you. At 2 o'clock. So thank you so much. And as we like to say here, get out there and live your best lung life.